Welcome to the Living to 100 Club podcast.
Well, hello to everyone joining us today on our podcast. You're listening to one of our successful aging episodes this month on the Living to 100 Club program, and I'm your host, Joe Casciani. Each program, our conversations educate and inspire, helping you get the best out of all the years we're given, regardless of what obstacles come our way. You can learn more about our club at our website. Be sure to take a look at my new training and activities manual, Better, Longer, and Happier, a guide to aging with purpose and positivity. This is a series of 12 modules in a card deck format developed for activities directors at senior living communities to learn more about psychologically healthy aging. Visit our website, living200.club/BLH. Now, on to our podcast. On this program today, our guests are dubbed the Golden Dating Doctors. We discuss the art of finding new relationships after separation or loss of a partner. Both in their 80s, Doctors Gloria Horsley and Frank Powers met each other online after their marriages ended. They have a new book, Open to Love: The Secrets of Senior Dating. It chronicles the process of finding love in our senior years. Gloria and Frank met on a dating site for seniors, decided to meet in person, and the rest is history. In this podcast, they share the ins and outs of online dating, the pitfalls, and how to learn from mistakes made. Their goal is to make things a little easier for those entering or re-entering the world of dating. How do we meet people? What risks should we be on the lookout for? Stay tuned. First, a little background. Dr. Gloria Horsley is a licensed marriage and family therapist and clinical nurse specialist. She's the president and co-founder of the Open to Hope Foundation and co-hosts the award-winning Open to Hope TV series and podcast. A former faculty member at the University of Rochester School of Nursing and the Academy of Intuition Medicine, she's co-authored 10 books and written numerous articles. Widowed after 60 years of marriage, she has 4 children, including a deceased son, and 10 grandchildren. She and her partner, Dr. Frank Powers, mostly split their time between Palo Alto, California, and Scottsdale, Arizona. And Dr. Frank Powers has been a licensed psychologist with a private practice in Scottsdale, Arizona, for the last 30 years. He served as chairman of the Psychiatric Security Review Board for the state of Arizona and is a past psychology professor at Scottsdale Community College. He studied sexuality under William Masters and Virginia Johnson and received advanced training in couples therapy with the Imago Institute of Harvell Hendricks. A graduate of George Williams College, he holds master's degrees from Arizona State University and Columbia University and doctorate in psychology from Union Institute. He's an award-winning sculptor, and in his spare time, he enjoys golf, pickleball, and tennis. He has 2 stepdaughters and 1 step-grandson from a previous marriage. Gloria and Frank, welcome to our program today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're happy to.
Great. Glad to have you with us. I always like to open by asking our guest, in this case, 2 guests, to tell us about the journeys that brought you to where you are today. I know there's a lot of history between the both of you, but maybe the highlights that you could share with our listeners.
Ladies first.
Let's see. So going on 4 years, my husband of 60 years died of a staph infection after back surgery. He'd had a number of back surgeries and had had a staph before. And he passed away, and I got involved because I've been a therapist for years. I sought out therapy myself and joined a therapy group. And in that group, I met a guy who golfed, which wasn't Frank. And he and
They golfed their grief.
and he and I golfed for every day for almost a year. And then he decided that I was too big a presence and had too big a family.
Ghosted her.
He
And
ghosted her. Okay.
We went to Hawaii over Christmas.
Lucky me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To Hawaii over Christmas, and he left me. He was living at my house, and he left me the key and said he was done. We
Wow.
were so I decided to write a book for widows, and I decided in this day and age, if I was going to write a book for widows, that I should put in something on online dating because this guy had told me that he had online dated very successfully. So I decided I needed to go online dating, and I got COVID. And so I was in my room for 2 weeks, and I wanted to write this book for widows because I was pretty cranky that this guy would
Very cranky.
blow me off.
Sure. Yeah.
So I decided to write a book for widows, and I went online, Silver Singles, and Frank happened to have gone online. And I met him online, and we met in person as soon as I got back to Arizona where I was staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was instant. We
Yeah.
knew right away. Said,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Both of us found our missing part.
Yeah, and so Frank comes from a different perspective than I did.
I was divorced several times, and one of my ex-wives was a psychologist, and we had tried to write a book together, but were unsuccessful. So when Gloria mentioned that she wanted to write a book,
I told him I was doing research.
yes,
Wasn't
I looked
really
at her and I
dating.
said, this is more.
Connection.
And so I said, well, why don't you write the book with me? Because I don't know the male
And I said,
perspective.
I had a terrible experience. I was a little hesitant in trying, but it was like a totally different experience. So I knew, hey, this lady is a keeper.
How did you know, Frank? I mean, you met online. What was it about Gloria's profile? And same question for you, Gloria. What was it about Frank's profile?
I just felt so comfortable the first day we met. And I was planning to retire from my practice, and I was thinking about going to a senior community because I know the numbers of the senior community were in my favor. So I thought, well, okay, maybe that's the place to go. And then I thought, well, I had some success. I had met my previous wife on Silver Singles. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try it one more time. Thank God, because her profile came up. It just looked like I had known her for years. We had the same kind of background, the same kind of people that we had worked with. And we knew the same people. We just talked the same language.
Yeah,
So
it
this
was
is one of the things that we talk about in the book is also that at this point in your life, when you're a little bit older, it's much easier to find someone that you're very similar to in personality and experience.
Mhm.
So it was really, really good. And I mean, we met for happy hour. And we stayed through dinner, and I invited her to come see my etchings, my studio,
Whatever it takes.
and my sculpture studio, and she gracefully said yes, and we just hardly ever separated after that.
Yeah. One thing we both had pretty robust websites. Frank had his sculpture website, and I had my Open to Hope
My
website.
site group.
However, I'll have to say that we did not spend a lot of time texting.
No,
And
no.
we did not talk on the phone at all. He never had my phone number. He really didn't. He knew my website, but we didn't spend a lot of time.
Such an impressive lady. I mean, my God.
So
Well,
once you met in person, that I mean, just
Yeah,
we
it was,
just knew.
it was all
Yeah.
about in person. I
Yeah,
mean,
she was one of the, we talk about websites, and unfortunately people try to put their best foot forward and sometimes a fantasy foot rather than the real person. And her website was actually less than when I met her personally. I mean, more gorgeous, more vivacious, funny, enjoyable. It was just magic from the first.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty realistic because, I've been a therapist for all those years, and I'm like, I'm not playing around. If you don't have golf clubs, don't get in touch with me.
She asked if I had a handicap, and she said, not a physical one. You got a golf handicap.
That's a different
But,
conversation. Yeah.
And it was also like, you know, I support myself. I expect you to be financially responsible, you
Yeah.
know,
And that's all the things that we suggest people to do when they go online.
be
is
realistic.
realistic and check out the person. You want to verify that who you're talking to or
Sure.
texting with or whatever is the person that you're texting with.
Yeah.
And I think all those safeguards are really important, and you have to be a good consumer if you're going to
Yeah.
use online dating. Uh, and also, many of us are not at our age are not familiar with online dating.
No.
So you have to find someone like a dating buddy who's
Yeah.
going to be able to help you through the process.
I
Yeah,
do.
I'd like to get to that more, but before we move to that, let me ask you about, you know, the whole notion of dating in our senior years. I mean, relationships are so important, but being alone is not so uncommon. We know there's a lot of loneliness. We know there's loss and separation and divorce and spouses pass away. Don't a lot of people just want to avoid the risk of another relationship?
Well,
And
that's one of the fears that we try to deal with in the book is
sure.
the fear that, well, wait a minute, I've had a successful relationship or two in the past. And, maybe I'm just too old and there's no one out there and, all the kind of fears that are normal. But we also know that if you have a healthy relationship, in your later years, it probably adds at least 7 years to your lifespan. That's the average and the statistics that are about
Mhm.
that. To have a healthy older period for most people, it's going to be that you will do it in relationship. Um, Being lonely is the number one senior mental health issue that the attorney, that the,
Attorney General, yeah.
no,
Attorney
no,
General. Yeah.
yeah, Surgeon General
Surgeon
Attorney
General.
General. Yes,
had,
yes.
had,
Uh-huh.
had said. So loneliness is an issue,
It's a
and
big
and
issue.
you do live longer and usually happier if you're in
I mean, the
relationship.
statistics of people dying after a spouse dying are very high, or, you know,
Yeah,
coming
it
down with
really
an
is. It's
illness.
6 months for a long-term
One
relationship.
of the things that I find with women is that, and families, is that your kids will say, oh, she's really happy. My mother lives alone and she's striving, and all like it's some kind of
Yeah.
a badge of courage and medal.
And
Well,
strength. Yeah.
of course she's happy when she sees them. What are you going to do? You're going to go to dinner with them and say, I am lonely, I am miserable. You're going
And
to
you got to find me somebody quick.
so
Yeah. No, you
whenever
covered
you
that, of
see,
course. You covered
whenever
that.
you see these widows, they're happy because you're seeing them, because they
Yeah,
want you
and
to see
they
them.
and they don't want to be a drag, so they kind of fake it most times. I mean, there are, of course, people that are
Who would
happy
rather be
on their
alone.
own and have a very fulfilled and wonderful life. However, for most of us, we do better if we in relationship.
I mean,
And
guys are dying 2 years after their wives. I mean, the statistics are really quite startling.
yeah, brutal. So
Yeah, so the statistics, the research is showing how the importance, the value of having that relationship, some closeness,
sure.
that really makes a difference. What do you say to the person? By the way, I just heard about a case, not a case, but an example of a 102-year-old veteran who went back to Normandy, celebrating the
Yes,
80th
wasn't that
anniversary.
wonderful? Yes.
And he proposed to an old girlfriend of his who lived in France. She's in her
Hey, class
90s.
reunions are now the new meetup.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
go back to a class reunion and you meet someone that, oh, I dated you when I was 16. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
doing pretty well. How are you doing?
It's becoming the norm now. It's not the exception anymore. And I say the number
Oh,
just
well,
gets in the way.
I had several of my practice that met at class reunions where they
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
back
No,
and
that's great. So
they
let's
dated.
not be so surprised when people do
Not so
have these
surprising.
engagements later on. I think that's great. So what do you say to the person who says, I'm too old. I've been through all this. I've been through a marriage or several marriages. I'm too old. What do you say to that person?
You know what? When Frank and I get together with people, they want to get into relationship. When they see us, it's much more profound than my saying by myself saying, oh, well, you know, it's great. You know, you really might want to think
Yeah,
about being,
yeah, you
but
shouldn't wait.
I mean, it's almost like seeing is believing. I mean, it's like, it's great. If that's what you want, if you want to go through, You know, and when I was a kid, nobody expected a woman to get married, and they were 60.
Mm.
I mean, you just didn't expect, I didn't expect my grandmother. My grandfather died at 55. Did I expect her to get married? Heavens no.
No, no.
Now people are living in, you know,
Into their 70s and
yeah,
80s
70s or
and very
80s.
healthy. It's
But
not that they're living, but they're not infirm. They can have a relationship and they can enjoy doing things
they can
together.
have passion and purpose,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
to the point. But, you know, this, I think this is a pretty startling statistic. The average woman will be widowed at 57 to 59.
I hadn't heard that. That's pretty
Oh,
striking.
Yeah, it
Pretty
is.
striking. The average. Yeah.
and so you've got all those years that, and I know some women are like, well, I've still got kids at home, so I'll wait till they leave. And I'm like, you've got college age kids. Don't wait.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to
Sure.
be in a relationship,
Sure.
don't wait until your house is
We
empty.
had one situation in my practice where this woman wanted and thought and said something to her son about wanting to maybe try online dating and meet someone. So she did, and she got kind of frightened and went back to her son and said, I don't know, it's kind of scary, and he discouraged her.
Yeah, and then he said, well,
So she got a dog and she lived for 5 more years. And we met up with him and talked with him. And he said, you know what? I'm really sorry I discouraged my mom.
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
we all have that drive and resilience, and sometimes we listen to other people and who tell us to put it back, or put it away, and don't pay
Yeah.
attention to that
Go
drive.
back in your woodshed. Stay there.
Yeah. So let's get to the specifics. What steps do we take when we're looking for a relationship? I mean, if somebody's saying, "Okay, I'm gonna, put my toe in the water again and see what it's like," what do you
I
recommend?
certainly had a lot of men, especially, come into my practice and say, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm retired now. I'm playing a little golf maybe or whatever, but I'm just, not sure to jump back into
Mhm.
the dating thing. So one of the things that I say to them very clearly is that, what do you have to lose? I mean, you're going to be meeting some people. Some of them are not going to be candidates, but some of them might be very interesting people to meet. And how are you meeting people these days? You're not working, you're usually retired, and you may have some different interests that you have, but in most cases, you're not going to meet the large number of people that you can meet online. And so if I can convince them to just go online and just look, just take a look at all the different kind of women that are out there, these very interesting, very intelligent, creative, exciting people to meet. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose?
Sure, sure. And there are a bunch of sites for seniors dating.
Oh, well, there are sites that specifically are for people who are a little older. Silver Singles is one. That's the one we met on. But there are several others that do cater to people who are a little older, and it's a little bit easier, and they try to make the process easy. But I will tell you, it's a little daunting for most people when they first start off. Usually you need to get what we call a dating buddy or being buddies, someone who is more familiar. And sometimes that's your grandchildren who are more familiar with the dating sites, who can help you
and
get
they
on
date.
and navigate it, and
Okay.
they kind of have fun with it.
Yeah.
Most of them have fun doing
Yeah.
it.
So there are risks, of course. What are some of the bad outcomes you've heard about? Not directly.
Yeah, there are, and you have to be a good consumer, and that's the reason why dating buddies are a good idea, because they help you sort out whether this person is a real person or not, and you can check through public records the background of the people. You can go and Google them and usually find out some
Go to white
information about whether
papers.
they, White Pages or E-Verify are really good sources. And we encourage, especially women, to say to the man, for just safety purposes, I want to check you out and make sure that you really are who you say you are. And you know what? You should do that with me too.
Mhm.
Just check me out. We'll both feel safer. We'll both feel more comfortable if we know that we are who we say we are, and we're not some scammer who's trying to look. And the biggest thing that Gloria and I say all the time, no matter who you talk to and no matter how many great conversations you've had with them, don't give money
Never.
under any
No money.
circumstances.
That's
No money, because if you have that rule and you let the person know right up front, you know what, I've been told to do this by Gloria and Frank, that we're not supposed to give money.
It's really, women have always been scammed, and men. I mean,
Yeah.
let's put a new roof on your house. You need 4 tires on your car that just blew out.
And
not
do I
just
have a deal for
one.
you?
Sure.
I mean, it's
You need
always.
to change the air in your tires. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not play like it's not always happened.
Yeah, it's
but-
always out
But
there.
I consider one of the risks for women, and I do talk to them about this, is that you want to have these long conversations on the telephone.
Our text
You want a
messages,
text
yeah.
message. Some people want to do
Meet
that.
the person.
It's fine, if you want to do that, good for you. That's not something I do because dating is time consuming. And I like to see people meet up as soon as possible.
Mhm.
The apps protect you if you let them. You don't have to give them your telephone number. You don't have to give them the
Okay.
email. The app will take you through the app. People put themselves at risk
Yes,
when they
when they
do
open
this.
up information.
When they give people
sources.
information where they know who it is. But
So
that being said, these people are looking for money.
Yeah.
Really,
And so they know up front.
they're
that
looking
that's
for
a trap.
somebody to fall in love with them and give them money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's a good tip, Gloria. What are some of the reasons that you've heard why people ask for money? I mean, I'm sure they're very
I'll give you
plausible.
one example. This gentleman was a principal of a high school, and he was very, very lovely guy. And he contacted this woman who was not in his locality, and it was a long distance communication. And he communicated with her for a while, and she was talking about, oh, I would love to come out and meet you, but my mom is sick. She's in the hospital.
that's the big one.
And I'm really having a struggle right now. So he asked me, he said, well, should I help her out? And I said, I think you should check her out, not help her out. Check her out and make sure this is right. So he did. He went on E-Verify and found out that the person that she said she was did not exist.
Or do I need airfare? I want to meet you.
Oh, yeah,
If you
I want to
could
meet
send me
you.
Airfare, I
Yeah,
can meet you in Seattle.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
Oh,
like
there's-
a reasonable, plausible
The
request.
moment that money comes into the relationship,
There's no
we say,
reason for
hey,
people to ask you for
no,
money.
no.
Okay, so
And it is harder if you communicate with someone texting or even if you have Zoom calls or whatever. We had one lady who said that she had a Zoom call with this guy who was supposedly working in Saudi Arabia or
Yeah.
some Nigeria or
He
wherever.
even had his kids
He
cooking online.
brought kids onto his Zoom thing, and
Yeah.
and he didn't have kids.
And
It was
it
a
turned
scam.
out the guy was from Nigeria.
Yes. Yeah, and she gave him money.
Yeah,
It
she
cost
gave him
her
money. Yeah.
$100,000.
But she was in love with him. That's the
Yeah,
problem
She
with,
fell in love online,
Online.
and that's a danger. That's the reason why you want to meet them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. We can talk a lot on the phone or text back and forth, but what you're recommending is meet in person, face to face, and
person
spend
and
time
check
that
the
way.
person out.
Spend time that
Make
way.
sure that they
Yeah.
are who they say.
plus,
And if you meet their
Yeah.
friends and if you meet their family, you have a pretty good idea that this person is genuine.
well, once you get down, that's a long
That's
ways
right.
down the line.
Well,
though.
I mean, but that gives
You have
you
your
the
first
idea.
meetup.
Do
with-
that before you fall in love.
You go for your first meetup in a place that you planned
Yes.
for a half hour at a coffee
Well,
shop.
I'm sure you're familiar with the Golden Bachelor and
Oh, yeah. I don't
Yes.
watch it, but I've heard
And
it.
my God, that it was great television. It was wonderful to see people get excited about relationships that are older. However, these people knew nothing about one another. And it only took 3 months for them to find out, hey, we're not as compatible as we look like on TV.
Yeah. What about when people make a bad decision? You've heard about probably some regrets or mistakes.
Oh,
What do you do? How do you help people work through that and go back into the pool? Is it possible?
yes.
Sure,
Yes.
yeah, you happen to see themselves in a positive light as being a
Yes, we try
consumer.
to
What
use
did
a
you learn?
reframe and say, look, you learned a lot in this process. You learned a lot about dating, you learned a lot about yourself, and you learned about what works for you and doesn't. So now you're an experienced dater. Now you're going to do better. You're going to have a better chance of finding someone and having success. So you can't expect the first time for it to work out.
Mhm.
But you learn and you become a better dater, a better onliner. You become someone who is a veteran, and you're much more likely to find the right person for yourself. You only have to find
I
one.
mean, yeah, you're only looking for one person and the pool is so much bigger than waiting for your next door neighbor
Right.
to introduce you to somebody. And we also, have a client who I was talking to her and she really settled for a friend. And
Yeah.
she said
Mm.
10 years later that she wished that she would have
Yeah.
kept dating
She-
until she
Uh-huh.
found
Uh-huh.
somebody
She
she really
had
had some
a
sparks with.
10-year relationship with friendship, and that's wonderful. But she could have had more, possibly.
Yeah, if
Mhm.
she,
Yeah. Yeah, I like that recommendation, Frank, of the whole notion of reframing, because we can interpret these events in our lives in a very negative way and label it
And
bad experience and not
it's a
avoid it.
learning experience. This is
Yeah, it's
graduate
true.
school for
Yeah,
dating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's important. Any other recommendations? I mean, you talked about the importance of meeting face to face, avoid the money, be able
A
to
dating buddy, you don't want to go in your
avoid
head
anybody.
alone.
Yeah,
You want to have people that you can have
friends
fun
or
with and
whatever.
enjoy going over the
yeah,
profile,
yeah,
going over the meetups and
yeah.
talking with them and having fun with it. Because if you don't have fun with this process, you're going to probably not do it.
Yeah, you can't see
It's
it
got to
as
be fun. It's
being
got to be
Mm.
enjoyable.
drudgery, drudgery, but you do have to create space for it.
Yes.
People are busy and, they're
Mhm.
babysitting their grandkids or their own kids, they're working, and it does take time. So you have to think about,
Giving it enough time.
yeah, and how many, you might even plan how many dates you're willing to go on or meetups you're willing to
Mm.
do a week or a month or,
But it
you
could
know,
be the most important activity that you get into
Sure.
in terms of spending time and effort. And you can't expect success right away. You're going to meet a lot of people who are what we call almost. They're
Almost.
almost the relationship, but they're
Sure.
not quite.
Sure.
So, and these people are really interesting, and you have a good time meeting them and whatever, but you know that this isn't the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with. When you find somebody you want to
Yeah.
spend your rest, that
For
is
sure.
a joy.
For sure.
That
That's a
doesn't
lot.
always happen
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
You've got to
So
be prepared.
yeah, you
I'm
do.
sure there's no set time. But what's a general time frame? We're looking at 6 months, 12 months. I'm sure it
Generally,
varies.
I've had people meet within the first month
Uh-huh.
and be successful. I've had other people that it's taken a year
Okay.
or more for.
Okay.
So it's hard to really say. It's like the luck of the draw, you know?
And sometimes people want to take a break,
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll date and then they'll say, I'm gonna
And
take
sometimes they'll even change websites
websites and try
because
another one.
Oh,
if you feel like nothing's really happening, I'm not meeting anybody on this website. The good news are there is a number of websites
sure.
and try.
Yeah.
And we actually helped a person that we knew. We were dating buddies for this lady, and we helped her go to a professional
Yeah.
matchmaker.
Uh-huh.
Actually, she found that she had as much success online as she did with the
Well, one of
matchmaker,
the
her
things that
particular one.
happened is that one of the people she met from the matchmaker, she'd already
Already met online.
online.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, so here she's paying like $5,000 or
Here's the
more.
thing, if you wanna spend $5,000, I
Yeah.
get it. If you've got more,
Yeah,
if you've
right.
got more money than you have time, they will vet for you, but
Yeah.
you can vet for yourself because they're getting those men offline,
Yeah, it's a
online, because
well,
where else do you get them
they're
from?
recruiting them on.
They're recruiting them online, so you can do it yourself, but
Let's
it,
see.
Was she
Sorry.
surprised when she met up with this guy that she paid all this money for, and she had met him for $35 a month?
Yeah.
I've got to tell you something really interesting about matchmakers for people. I was fascinated about this. Matchmakers do not let you see a picture of the person you're
Yeah,
going to meet
yeah,
up with.
Yeah, because
Now,
they understand that.
they understand that there's more than just
You want to
looks.
find out about them.
Yeah, you
information.
wanna, there could be some energy, even if the guy's not 6 feet tall. I can't tell you how many people tell me they have to have somebody 6 feet tall, and I'm like, give me a break. Matchmakers don't tell you whether they've got beards, whether they are 6 feet tall.
They just say,
They-
I've read their profile,
they
I
read
know
their
them, I
profile.
think they'll be a good candidate for you to meet.
So-
Well, a lot of times when your friends set you up on a blind date, you don't see the person. Your
Sure.
friends do the
Yeah.
screening for you.
Yeah.
And so this is the way the matchmakers do
So,
it. They
but
screen.
I try to get women not to be quite as particular, give them a chance, it's only gonna be 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's not get lost in the physical appearance.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what's the average fee? There's a subscription typically, what, $50?
Matchmaker?
What?
Matchmakers
For
are regular.
online.
No, the dating site, the dating site.
I'm not
More than
sure.
that,
The
it's like
average is usually around a $40 a month. They usually have a month or 3 months that you could
Mhm.
do. We tell people that if you do it, take the shorter time and just get used to
And take the
the
basics.
and
'Cause
take
you
the
can
basics.
do other
Yeah,
things. You
yeah,
can
because
sit-
they want you to pay all kinds of fees to
Uh-huh.
send flowers,
Yeah, the
know.
premium
you can
account,
have
actually.
flowers, you
Yeah.
can take trips with people to
Oh,
Italy
yeah.
with
Yeah.
avatars. I mean,
I mean, they're getting really inventful online, but just
Yeah.
the basics are all you basically need, and get used to the system, get a dating buddy, have
Or-
fun
or
with
do it
it, sit
group.
around in your pajamas and look at all the profiles and
Sure.
see
Yeah.
the possibilities
Yeah.
and see if there's anyone that's.
do you know what's really fun too and funny? Once you sign up and pay your money, your little
Your attitude
your little
changes.
amygdala in the brain and your little hormones say, I'm dating, and then you get out of your sweats and you go to a restaurant and you look around to see who's there.
Uh-huh.
You have a different
attitude,
aura.
a different
A different
attitude.
aura.
Yeah, you kind of reinvent yourself in a way.
Might meet
Exactly.
You might meet
Exactly.
somebody at class
Whoa.
reunion, or
That's-
your neighbor
that's-
might introduce you
Yeah.
to somebody.
Yeah.
Who
We
knows?
never know, right? We
It
never
does,
know.
it just change the way that you look at
It
life
changes your
when you start
behavior.
dating.
And I don't think it's just mental. I think it's also physical.
You also become more like a teenager.
Yeah,
It's
really.
amazing
That's why
energy.
it's hard for your kids
That
to
sounds like fun. Yeah.
get
So tell
silly.
us about your book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating.
Yeah.
How's it going? How is it?
Oh, it's going really well.
Yeah.
We're really exciting, and in fact, you see, Silver Singles has taken us on, and they sent out some people to do a photo shoot with us because they were really excited about us helping people use their online process better. So we have a relationship with Silver Singles now that we didn't
We're
even
having
expect.
fun,
Sure.
and
And they were very happy, and they have us do a blog. We send a blog in every month to talk about the issues in the book to help people become better daters online,
yeah,
especially seniors,
I mean,
because that's their biggest growing group is the senior population.
my thing, you'll appreciate this as a psychologist, we're the Piagets of senior dating. Because
We're using our own kids.
Piaget studied his own kids. I mean, we're
Yeah.
studying our own life.
What's
Yeah,
the
right.
normal development process? Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. So Gloria, tell us about the Open to Hope Foundation. What's that?
When 40 years ago, my son was killed in an automobile accident, and
He was 16,
he was 17.
17.
He was killed with my nephew. And with the advent of the internet, I had private practice. I decided that I could help more people by doing an online profile. So we started with online radio 20 years ago. My daughter and I were on Voice America, and now we have 3 million downloads a year. Our mission is helping people find hope after loss and giving a voice to grief and recovery. So we go to conferences. We have 400 people that write for our site, like the Huffington Post, free. And we have thousands of articles online. We have over 500 podcasts. And we just have a lot of material going on there. We do a TV show in New York City.
Good for you. Good for you. Gold stars. I was on Voice America for about a year, and I didn't have quite that.
That's
I didn't
fun.
have quite that following that you do, but good for you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's great.
Who knows with AI what we're going to do next?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. I was just
Yeah.
talking to my web.
Unlimited, right? Unlimited. Sure. Yeah. Any final takeaways for our audience? We covered some good tips. The dating buddy, avoid giving money, meet the person and, meet someone face to face. Other
We'll
final.
just say, get out there. It's
Get
worth
out
it.
And it takes courage.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fun. It'll energize you. You'll find mission and purpose. And remember, you're only looking for one person.
Only looking. Yeah, that brings to mind the saying, done is better than perfect, right? I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
just get out there and do something.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Get off the
great.
couch and have fun.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're out of time, but before we wrap up, I just want to remind my listeners to visit my website, livingto100.club, sign up for my email list, and download a free copy of my 9 tips to make living longer enjoyable. And if you're affiliated with Senior Living Setting, be sure to look for my new training manual and activity guide, Better, Longer, and Happier. Well, Gloria and Frank, thanks so much for being a guest on my show. For those who might want to contact you, do you have a website or how can they reach you?
The Golden Dating Doctors.
The Golden Dating Doctors, okay, .com.
Lots of material on there for you. And I would say we've got a chapter that we didn't talk about, but I think it's one of the most important chapters of our book, which is called Through the Bedroom Door.
It's all about later life sexuality.
And that's, yeah. Do you want to say a few words about that? Or
I think that they may want to read it because it's so different. And I think that's one of the things everyone's like, oh, your book could be for everybody. But that's an important chapter because of sexuality.
It is different as you get older.
With prostate cancer, with all sorts of health issues, you can still have intimacy.
70% of men over 70, have problems with erections.
Yeah. Well,
so a whole different world.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just as loving and in some ways,
and some ways more. Some ways more. I've had people with prostate cancer tell me that their sexuality is better now, even if they can't have an erection.
I remember years ago the saying, older adults make love less often, but mean it more.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Some truth.
I think that is good.
Yeah. And your book is available on Amazon or most available online. And then goldendatingdoctors.com is the website.
Yep. Exactly. So, and opentohope.com also. They've had another loss, all sorts of losses and recovery.
Well, thanks.
We're writing a new book called Open to Life, and that is after you find the one, how do you keep the one? How do you keep a healthy?
How do you sell your house? How do you move in together? How do you do your stuff?
Whether you get married or not?
How do you get kids?
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah.
We're living it.
It's a living book.
We're the Piagets. We're just getting ready to move into the senior living
we're excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. How to add more richness to that relationship. I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah. Thank you both. Thank you both. And
thank you.
Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.